Welcome back, folks. Back on the Gen 3 Hemi today. You saw last week where we finally figured out our thermostat problem. Of course, a dumb mistake that I made, but the bleeder, of course, just needed to go to 12 o'clock position. It was that easy. So we're about to drain the water back down and install this 180. And our proper sensor, you saw before, I was getting dubious readings on the coolant temp sensor, was way off. And after talking to Holley, I had a Chrysler sensor in from O'Reilly's. This is what you need for running the Terminator. I believe it's a 534-10 coolant temp sensor. So again, if I turn this on, you're going to see that the Terminator already thinks it's at 134 degrees. And I want to know what the oil pressure is on this thing. So I ordered the proper oil pressure sensor. What I have is a Chrysler O'Reilly's temp sensor, and obviously it has a different fitting. They send you this transducer along with the pigtail, so we're going to have to wire this in and basically do the same thing with our oil pressure. But after that, also I wanted to, and this part number here, folks, for the oil pressure sensor is 554-102. And last but not least, we checked now. We've got our new pigtail from Crushing AG. It's on, and we verified the TP sensor goes all the way to 100%, back down to 0. So now we got rid of the redneck fittings that I had on there, and now we've got the proper fitting into our Pro Stock Holley 112-602 throttle body. It's a Pro Stock throttle body per Holley. I don't know. But about to get started. Want to get this thing dialed in as much as possible. I now have a dyno date for April 4th at Kuntz Performance in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. Same place that Just Mopar Joe goes. Spoke to Brad, and he's got it set up. They've got a new dyno sale going in over there, from what I understand, for the LSs and Gen 3 Hemis, I think is what he said. So we're going to get started. We're going to see if we made any improvements with these sensors and along with the thermostat. So stay tuned. Okay, so now we've installed our new Holley sensor part number for the Terminator, and we've also installed, and I haven't wrapped it, just this is our transducer for the oil pressure. So one thing I noticed, we put our 180 thermostat back. I have not started it, but if you come over and look, I've still got a disparity here on our coolant temp sensor. So if we go in here and you look real quick, monitor, multi-gauge sensors, it's showing them at 109. It just, and I put my infrared, the engine hasn't been started since last week. It's saying 56, 57. So do I have to go in with a laptop and tell the Terminator that, okay, this is the sensor you have? I thought it was already set up that way, but we're going to find out. We're going to fire this thing up and see where this thing settles in at. So here we go. I'm still showing 110. I know it hasn't opened up. The thermostat hasn't opened up yet, but that's got to be dubious. Well, not the success I was hoping for. So I'm still getting a major disparity on this coolant temp sensor from Holley. It's showing that I'm down at like at 248 degrees, and I can put my hand on the thing, and it took it forever for the thermostat opened up. All that's working perfectly, but there's an issue there. I think it's got to be programmed with the laptop. I'm not sure, but that's going to be, I think, for the dyno. I'm going to do some more research with the folks at Holley, ask them why. But I'm pretty sure I got to get on a laptop and tell it what it has. Here's a bigger concern I have. Well, our oil pan is leaking. and I've tightened the hell out of it. I've used shorter bolts. I thought the bolts I had from Mylodon were too long. We've got a pan leak, unfortunately. So that's got to be resealed. Third, this is what I'm really concerned about. I've got really low oil pressure at hot idle. I put my manual gauge on this thing and I'm getting under 20, like between 15 and 20 at a hot idle. Now I'm running a 5W30 or maybe even 10W30 in this thing. You guys tell me, you Hemi, Gen 3 Hemi guys, what do you like to see for oil pressure on these things at hot idle? That just really seems awfully low to me. So do I need to go to a different oil pump? This is just a factory 5.7 oil pump, but I've got some oil pressure issues that it's just my mechanical gauge is right and the transducer was right. So the transducer part number on the Holley, that coincided with what we had with our manual gauge. It's just too low for me. So this is what this engine test stand is for. It's not for you to build and put on there and just try to pretend everything is good. That's why we test them. And the test stand's doing its job. I want everything right as rain before we go to our dyno session in April. So looks like I'm going to be ordering a oil pan gasket for this thing. You guys tell me, do I need to go to a thicker oil? Would a thicker oil like what I put in the legacy cars be better? Seems like my bearing clearances were pretty tight. Seems like they were in the 28 thou range. So I don't know, guys. You tell me on that oil pressure issue. Change that oil pump, obviously. I'm gonna have to pull that whole accessory drive off of it. Yay, but it is what it is. I want this thing right before we go putting it into Barracuda, because Barracuda's been all painted. We're going next Saturday to go pick it up from Just Mopar Joe's. So the Hemi's got to be perfect before we go putting it back in the car. So yeah, that's where we stand today. Unfortunately, it's a disappointing day. I'll be out of town on business this next week, so I won't get to play with it this week, but looks like I'll be ordering some parts and trying to make some changes. So again, you guys, let me know if y'all have any suggestions on an oil pan gasket for one. This is the Mylodon oil pan, and I believe I used their gasket. I don't know why it didn't seal, but it just didn't. And it's not at the corners, it's leaking right here. You can see it, it's pouring out right here. And all those bolts are tight as they can be. So something is not happy. So we're gonna drain this oil and get another gasket and see what's going on. And if you would, please, Hemi guys, let me know on the oil pressure issue if there's a different oil pump. I know some people use Hellcat oil pumps, so let me know. So please like, share, and subscribe. Have a good weekend, everybody.